Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to The Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films, streaming delights you care about most. This week we are reviewing Miss Marvel Episode 2, streaming on Disney+. I am your host, Doc Rutten. Joining me tonight are the crew, starting off with the Chris Slattery, the Slatman. How you doing, sir?
Good. I'm very excited to be starting our next episode of the Ant-Man Talks podcast.
Ant-Man Talks. Oh, you booger. All right. Also joining us tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
Hey, I'm going to be creating a food truck where it's ice cream pizza. If you guys want to contribute money to help make my dream come true, so that I can make ice cream pizza.
What did you say?
Does that come on a plate or a bowl? All right.
That's the trick. The pizza is the spoon.
Oh wow.
That doesn't sound appetizing at all, by the way.
There is no spoon. All right, we'll just mix our metaphors. All right, this show is made for everybody but us, but we're going to review it anyway because we love the MCU. And to be fair, Slatman actually has read the comics. I'm aware of the character, and Christopher G. Moore. I think you know who the character is, but that's the length of it, right?
That's about it. Although they do have hidden things where you can actually read some of the comics for free.
Oh, nice. I'd love to hear about that. I, of course, read the character in the Champions. I never read her solo stuff, so it doesn't matter. This is the MCU live action version, and we're here to review it as a TV show, bringing the character into the MCU, the Marvel Universe, and all of its glory. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start off giving you our first impressions, and that will be spoiler free. And then we'll dive into a discussion where we'll get into details of the show. We might even have some Easter eggs, as Christopher G. Moore has alluded to. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others on the site. We are, when we start off, we say Star Wars to Star Trek, and we are doing both Obi-Wan with the same crew you're seeing here, and then a few others and I are covering the Star Trek Brave New Worlds as well. So we're doing both at the moment, and that is so weird for my brain to be doing both at one time. I'm telling you that right now. Anyway, neither here nor there, because we're talking MCU at the moment, and let's take a look at the card. Miss Marvel, streaming on Disney Plus, season 1, episode 2, aired June 15th. It was titled Crush. It was directed by Mira Menon, written by Kate Gritton, based on characters created by Adrian Alfona and G. Willow Wilson. And the cast includes Aman Vellani, Matt Lintz, Zenobia Schroff, Mohan Kapoor, Sagar Shaikh, and Yasmin Fletcher. I feel like I got about 53% on that. Synopsis: Kamala and Bruno explore the source of her newfound powers just in time for a perilous adventure, which is hiding the true story. But that's pretty much what happens. Yeah, right?
It's still better than what Lucasfilm.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Slatman, what was your first impression of episode 2?
I really like this. I like this series. This series is just fun. It's fun to watch. It oozes style. This one gave me more Scott Pilgrim vibes than the first episode. Yeah. I know a lot of people online are comparing the first episode to Scott Pilgrim, but this one has a straight call out to Scott Pilgrim too, and I love it. And I don't know. They're doing so well with this. And my complaint from last week, it turns out it might not even be be something to worry about. So
nice.
Like I said, to quote Ian Malcolm, life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
And
Yeah,
in this case, the MCU finds a way to make a very good Miss Marvel adaptation.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, there's definitely a hint in here that we're going to have to talk about. All right, Christopher G. Moore, sir, what was your first impression of Miss Marvel episode 2?
Yeah, I think this show definitely it's keeping that sort of same vibe. It has this sort of this visual storytelling that I really love, and really taps into sort of like the main character, because you have these little animations that happen. We still have the little texting thing, that happens. And also just, those elements that sort of like not only do tap into sort of, Scott Pilgrim type stuff, but feels the elements of John Hughes and all these other, teen type movies. And I think, and I feel like, the actress, Kamala, who plays Kamala, I think she's just a joy to watch.
She really is.
She feels like a real teenager, as opposed to like a lot of these movies where you have teenagers and it doesn't feel like a real teenager. She feels like a real teenager, and she feels like, and as much as we're sort of out of the age spectrum that this show is made for, I can relate to her. I feel like I'm still like that person. I'm still like living in this sort of dreamy world half the time, and I wish I could be, she has these visions of wanting to be a superhero, and I have visions of being like a big time filmmaker. So I can sort of feel the kinship with that. But yeah, I love how the sort of the storytelling continues on, and we get, and also, in the same way that the comic sort of brought this different part of that stuff that we don't normally see. We don't really see like the Muslim side of life, and so we get to see elements of that, and even history parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I love that I can watch something that's considered a superhero show, but I can learn more about other cultures and other ethnic groups or whatever, and other religions that I don't know about. Something that like, but also I can sort of relate in the same way that growing up in a Southern Baptist church, I could probably do elements of how the different communities within that church. You could do the same thing with, the mosque. So yeah, I love all the different characters in it. I love the, how she's continued to learn her powers, and we have that sort of greatest American hero type stuff as well, where she's just learning by making mistakes. And at the same time, it's got a, and it has that sort of that normal stuff you find in teen movies, like, ooh, she's got a crush, she's over the moon. So yeah, I'm really loving it so far. And it's just a joy to watch. It doesn't have like an ounce of like cynicism or darkness that a lot of these sort of superhero things have, and it's sort of like it feels like a really sort of fresh perspective and a way to tell a story that's has a lot of positivity and shows the normalcy of people that are, in the society that we don't normally get to see in TVs or movie, that perspective. And it's treated just like anything else, so I love that aspect of it. I'm glad that we have these elements that can show these other perspectives, so that not always the same perspective when it comes to telling stories and telling, people's perspectives in their lives.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm enjoying the most about this is it does feel fresh. It feels youthful, right? It feels optimistic, and because we've been dealing a lot, especially in the past shows, with very often very serious themes and tones, right? From Wanda losing her kids and struggling with that, to Loki doing all kinds of weird things, and and this is, even though this is about superheroes, it kind of brings it back to the normal. And there's this, I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. And the Hughes part of it, the teen comedies and stuff, that's in there, that's infused in there too. And it just really is a nice package, and the actors are great. It has something to say and has something to share. It has something to prove, I would even say. And I am amazed how much I am enjoying this across the board. This there's, I don't know if there's anything to complain about with this. It it certainly isn't made for me. It's made for a much younger audience. But I like Christopher said, I can still relate to the characters. And well, I can relate to the parents too, but I can relate to the characters. We all went to high school. We all had to deal with that. We all had. I grew up reading comics. I had superhero fantasies along with that, so I can relate to all this, and I don't know. It just there. I was expecting this to be entertaining, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. It really is this good. And Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan is a rare find. She is so.
She kind of has the spark of this character the same way that Robert Downey Jr. had with Tony Stark.
Yeah, and I think from my little experience with her, interacting with other superheroes in the comics, she brings that character to life. She is that character the way there are differences, but at the same time there aren't, right? And it really works. I'm amazed. But let's get into our discussion about this. We've got a lot to talk about. We have to dive into some spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show, go watch it. Don't miss out. Come back and catch the rest of this. But we need to talk. We got to talk about something soon. But first, we have Easter eggs. Is that right, Christopher G?
We do have a few. Tying into the John Hughes stuff, on her outfit, she has a Save Ferris button.
Nice.
But, it's actually a reference to the band, but the band got its name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Mm-hmm. And if you remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off, there's a moment where he actually tricks his parents to thinking that he's still asleep in his room. So we get a nice Ferris Bueller reference in episode 1 in regards to that when she gets her friend Bruno to set up the thing to make it seem like that she's still in her room. When she bumps into Cameron, I can't remember how he pronounces his name. He knocks the chemistry
book. Cameron, right? So
Cameron, yeah. he knocks the chemistry book out of her hand. You get it? Chemistry? Which actually, if you remember, we got a similar reference to that in I think it's No Way Home, where Peter Parker and MJ are on the roof and he's got a chemistry book next to him. So we get a nice little sort of connection to Moon Knight, but not in the way you think. There are QR codes in both episodes.
Oh, okay.
That we didn't notice in the first episode. It's around the ATM machine. In this episode, there's a Bengals poster when her and Bruno get split up when they're walking down the hallway. There's a poster in the middle of the hallway. There's a QR code. The QR code from the first episode actually gets you the first episode of Ms. Marvel. The new one, the new one gives you episode 15, which is the first appearance of Cameron. I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. Is it Cameron or Cameron? 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 Anyway, Kaman. The guy that she's interested in. I'll just say that. I feel bad if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Let's see. One of the cool things I actually learned that have you noticed that whenever the title comes up, it just flashes different things? Evidently, they got that idea from the Spider-Verse movie. But if you pay attention, there's actually cool things. There's one where it's like Miss Marvel with brass knuckles. There's a car dashboard, which actually has an infinity symbol, and it has this other symbol, but the other things are red, like red flags. There's a Donkey Kong style one, and there's one that's in the style of Saved by the Bell. Let's see. I think we talked about this previously, but the Edison sign is actually a reference to the first real villain that she had, who was a cockatiel bird that was possessed with the consciousness of Thomas Edison, which is probably something we won't see in this series, but it is a kind of a nice little reference to that specific villain. Let's see. Nakia has her shoes stolen. You know who stole her shoes? the kid that's hanging outside that building that the Kamala saves. That's the kid that stole her shoes. You see a close up of the shoes when he lands on her little hard light thing.
Oh, is he wearing the shoes?
So yeah, that little jerk stole her shoes. So again, how some of the men seem to be.
And they were Gucci.
Yeah, Gucci. Yeah. I didn't know Gucci. Did Gucci makes tennis shoes?
Yeah, they make everything.
I don't know. I'm
They,
I'm a middle class bum.
fire extinguisher.
They make a fire extinguisher?
Yes, and it's not red.
Okay, that's information I didn't really care to know about, but that's stupid. Our capitalist society. Let's see. When she's first commenting with her boy crush, and they talk about SRK. SRK, I think it is. That Shah Rukh Khan, and he's one of the biggest massive Bollywood stars out there. Is known for a lot of the Bollywood movies. Let's see. When she gets dropped off by her crush, if you pay attention, the screen kind of dissolves and all the light sources become little hearts. Again, I love the elements of vision. There's like a neon heart that's behind her head. And just the visuals they create with some of the using special effects to create these wonderful visual cues to how she's feeling, I think just works so well. Of course, we have Mr. Wilson at the school that seems like the only way he connect with kids is if he makes movie references, which sounds like something if I worked at a school, that would happen. And he makes a reference to Star Wars and Devil Wears Prada. Also, Bruno. If you kind of thought his outfit at one point looked a little similar to something, that's his outfit is meant to be similar to Marty McFly's in Back to the Future, because actually in one of the comics, there's a kid that sits behind Kamala who's dressed like Marty McFly, and he's doodling Teen Wolf in the comics. So it's sort of a reference to that. Let's see. The person when they're at the restaurant, when she goes on the date at the restaurant with her crush, he talks about this. There's this Bollywood star that his mom has a crush on. You know who that person is? It's the character from Eternals, yes. Ingo from Eternals. So he's part of this connection to this universe. And he's probably. Well, anyway, he's probably old enough to be connected to the person that shows up at the very end.
And the person they're talking about in the entire movie.
Yeah. Let's see.
Sorry. The great grandmother.
They mentioned about how the mom got lost when she was a kid at the train station, and then somehow she got saved walking on stars or whatever. When Kamala, when she passes out and she has that vision, there's a sound of a train. And then at the very end, when her crush picks her up and the music, gets big and it goes to black, right before that, you hear the sound of a train again. So we can sort of understand how that train connection is somehow going to connect later on in this series. One of the favorite cool things is when they go around I think it's the festival is the really end of Ramadan. I think it is that when they go to that festival, it's normally a 3-day festival, and they go through all the different cliques of different people there. There's one of them that's the Mosque Bros. One of the Mosque Bros is one of the co-directors of the series.
There you go.
The drone that she knocks down that are chasing after her are actually a darker version of the Stark drones from Far From Home.
Ooh.
Let's see. When Bruno was holding on to her and she says, "Let me go," that's a direct reference to Endgame with Black Widow and Hawkeye. So
except for she's only like a foot off the ground.
But it ends a whole lot better than that ended. Also, if you pay attention, you can see a little bit of this in the first episode, but on that brick wall, there's a Iron Brand poster, which is like an Iron Man cereal, I think. Um, also, if you pay attention to Kamala's T-shirt that she wears, although you can sort of see a little bit of it, it's an old school drawing of Black Widow, and also her jacket is a replica of Carol Danvers' military jacket, and it even has the insignia of her logo on it. The scarf that Nakia gives her for her date looks like the same pattern scarf that she wears in the first issue of the comics. Also, there's one point where she wears aviator glasses, just like Carol Danvers would wear. But anyway, there's a few of the little Easter eggs and stuff that I came across in my research.
Very good. Very good.
I mean, I will say that there are direct connections to different segments of the comics. You know, the part where she drinks and the person's like, yeah, it's orange juice with vodka. I mean, those are the part where the guy calls her out in the mosque.
Yeah. Like shot for shot panel.
There's shot for shot, and even some of the same pieces of dialogue happen.
Yeah.
In
oh, wow.
So it is. I think that's the cool thing that we seem to be doing this more and more in a lot of the different things that Marvel's making, where it's actually really good representations of those comic panels and the pieces of dialogue within this series. We get to see a little bit of that, I guess, in the next Thor movie as well, to where they're doing a really great job of recreating those instead of just creating their own version of it.
I have a question before we get into the heat of things. We talked about last week that we may not get the Inhumans angle to this. Spoilers for anybody that doesn't know the origin. Are they going to replace Eternals for the Inhumans with that connection that we mentioned with Kingo?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Could he be responsible for the powers?
Well, but we also got an Inhuman in the Multiverse of Madness.
Well, we did get an Inhuman in the Multiverse of Madness.
So I mean, that's already been represented as well. So
yeah, but not necessarily in the 616 yet. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see where they go with that.
I have read that Kevin Feige was very against doing the Inhumans the traditional way with the Terrigon gas.
Mm-hmm.
So this could very well be the new interpretation of it, instead of it being the Terrigon gas that brings out the powers, which I'm fine with.
Plus, the Eternals aren't human. They're not. They're like more robotic.
The Eternals, yeah.
So that wouldn't really connect well with that. But yeah, I mean, I think with them pointing out like, oh, it's coming from within you. I think it's really tying into that, to where I think that the Bangle seems to have initiated it in the same way that the Terrigon gas or whatever is supposed to be known to create that. And I mean, but also I think. Yeah, but also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there
going to be another Bengals or just the one Bengals? Or is she going to end up too?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. With the person that shows up at the end of this episode, it'd be interesting to see if that, how that's going to connect with her, unless that person ends up being evil or something. I don't know.
100% evil.
Yeah.
I mean, I was given the benefit of the doubt, but I haven't read the comics or know that, so maybe you have more insight than I do.
Yeah. So,
we are in spoilers, so go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I think that there is. I don't remember the name of the character, and I apologize, but there is Medusa in the Inhumans, and then there's not Medusa, who is the leader of the other group of Inhumans. And I think the lady, I guess, Cameron's mom,
Najma,
is supposed to probably represent the opposite side of Medusa, the evil Inhumans, for like Like, even though like Magneto, it's like they're not really evil, they just have a different perspective on
You got a
things,
different agenda.
different
yeah.
agenda. But I think that she's supposed to represent like a combination of a couple characters that are from that side of the Inhumans universe, kind of combined into one to kind of pull Kamala into a more evil
There you go.
direction.
Now I have a question for you. There's a couple of times a person shows up in her where she kind of zonks out. She zonks out twice, right, in this episode, and we see face. Is it her? Do we see
her.
Najma? Yeah, it is, right?
It is.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if it was supposed to be like her grandmother or if it's this person or.
Well, it looks like. I mean, it looks like her. I
Mhm.
mean, but I think she. At the same time, I feel like there's one part where I feel like she's wearing some of the same clothing that was in that box that she came across. So,
Mhm. Well, they certainly don't like her grandmother or her great grandmother, right? Because it is her great grandmother, right? Not her grandmother. Because she talks to the grandmother. Grandmother's the one that always has the thing up close to her face, right? You can't see anything but her nose. So it's her great grandmother. That is the one that is on the train.
That scene was so relatable.
Is it?
Grandma, can you please just pull the phone a little bit further away?
Oh,
I did love the term of Illuminantes.
Yeah, Illuminantes. Oh my god, that was hilarious.
Which is like a big change from Multiverse of Madness. I feel like there's an alternate universe where it's just the Illuminantes.
I want to just call out Matt Lintz for a little bit. He plays Bruno, and he really brings that jealousy side of the character out really well without going too far. You know, the whole thing where he's, when they're in the car, right, and they're getting away from the party, and of course he's the one. He's still in the back, but he's the one right up front, right, kind of in between the two seats, and he's commenting on all the things she's saying, like, "Oh, I love the color. It's black." And he's getting very, very jealous. I don't know. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay. There's nothing better than a triangle in a drama, right? So it's coming out well.
Or in a teen romantic.
Yeah.
John Hughes.
Yeah, John Hughes? I mean, if it feels the John Hughes stuff, if it feels a lot of those sort of teen movies from back in the day, or even like Savage Steve Holland type stuff, where there's always that one person who's always got a big crush, like Ducky, and things like that in some of the 80s movies. So yeah, it fulfills that normal thing that you'd find in these type of, even stuff that isn't like that, like Dawson's Creek or something, where people are always, jealous, like, I want to have a relationship with this person,
But it doesn't feel like a trope. I guess that's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like a trope. It feels natural in the context of the story. And I think that's part of what's making this show special is I don't feel like anything is forced. This feels like a very, all the characters seem to be in tone. All the nobody seems to be too outrageous, but yet they're outrageous enough to be elicit laughs or controversy in some cases. Yeah. And so I actually am. This may end up being my favorite out of all these, and I would never have thought this one, which I was not necessarily, I wasn't not looking forward to it, but I was like, yeah, Miss Marvel, I want the She-Hulk. Well, now I'm like, hold up, let's watch this first because this is really good. And it's because of the actors and the writing and the direction. It's all wonderful, and it just, I don't know, it might be the best thing Marvel's put out.
Yeah, and piggyback off of that, I feel like this is the best representation of a family on screen in the MCU we've ever gotten. Like, it's just, it feels like a real family. Like the way they talk to each other, the way that they interact, the way that, like, the body language, it's like, especially when Kamala is asking her mom to go to the party and the way that her mom looks at her, like that's the way a mom would look at a teenager that's asking to do something like that. It's just, And like when they're at the dinner table, and especially when she faints and they're all crowded around and they're all got their own little thing that they're doing. Like one looks surprised, one looks like, oh, she's faking it. The other one's like really worried. The other one's, another one's like hovering over, like splashing water on the face, trying to get her up. Like it just feels so real.
Isn't Amir like chanting like some kind of prayer or something?
Yeah.
Her brother.
Well, I mean, and then you also you get that one moment where they talked about that if it wasn't for the Bon Jovi album, they would have never met, and they kind of gross out the kids. I mean, yeah, there's moments that just it definitely feels like a real family. It doesn't feel like some sitcom where everybody's like a specific type role. That they just feel like a normal family that we just have cameras and we're watching these things happen to them. And I think that's interesting. Although, so is that thing between her and Cameron, is that going to end up being like Leia Luke level of
Cameron?
Yeah, because
are they truly cousins, or even worse, are brother and sister?
If that's his mom, isn't his mom related
in the
to
comics? No. In the MCU, I don't know.
Because it ends up being very Luke Leia-ish. We're like, ooh.
Yeah, no. In the comics, they were not related.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it for you. But yeah, no, they're not related.
Okay. Although I will say, I also feel like there seems to be a natural chemistry between her and him, her boy crush. That part where they're at the restaurant. And it just seemed kind of natural where they're just holding out that menu, like they're just talking. Yeah. You can feel like the tinglies between those two. It's like, oh,
I especially loved the comments. It was like, it's like when she's driving and he's like, yeah, I think you're doing good. I don't think other people would think that. It's just like, that's so smart. That's so what someone who's crushing on someone would actually say.
Yeah, and Rishad's doing a great job as that character too, bringing a lot of, like you said, chemistry and magnetism to it, and then introducing his mom felt so evil. But let's get into our final thoughts with that. Our final thoughts are scored 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Slapmancer, you are up first.
This series is doing a great job. I think it's funny we spent so much time talking about things, and we didn't even talk about like the parts where she's being a superhero. And it almost seems like that's the least important part of this show, which is fascinating to me. I love the actors. I love the script. I love the visual storytelling in this series. I love the direction that they're going in, and they're doing such a good job of adapting the essence of Miss Marvel, but while also bringing it into the MCU and kind of MCU-ifying it and bringing it and like making it relevant, but and changing it enough that it works really well. And I'm just so happy that it's working so well. I can't praise the writing and the art direction enough. Like this is just fantastic. So much so that I cannot pick just one favorite scene. So I have to cheat and pick 2.
No, you booger. You booger.
And a half.
Straight out of the gate, and you're gonna steal 2 of them out from under.
Yeah.
I don't think yet. Did you give a score?
This one's a 4.5 for me.
Okay, 4.5.
It's getting there. It's getting there. It might bump up to a 5 if they nail the next 4 or 5. Is it 6 episodes long? If they nail the next 4 episodes?
That's a good question.
It's 6.
6, yeah. So my favorite scene. So it's kind of 2.5 scenes. It's the 2 scenes that they ripped straight from the comic.
Oh, nice.
Like that made me so happy. The scene at the mosque where they're where she gets called out for talking by the leader of the mosque. I don't know what the title is, and she back talks him, and then he back talks her right back, like that, and then the orange juice scene and or the with vodka. Like I loved those callbacks to the comics, but my actual favorite scene is the visuals of when she gets out of the car, being dropped off after the party by Cameron, and it goes into like the like her view of the world, and it's all stylized and pretty and hearts everywhere and everything, and she goes straight to the mom, or straight to the parents. They ask, how was it? And it whips right back to the like world as it normally is. Like, it was lovely. And then she goes right back to her world, and just like the visual of her world. I thought that scene was awesome.
Nice. Christopher G. Morris, there. You're up next. What's your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene?
Yeah, that was kind of like basically a Bollywood dance tune to "Be My Baby," which, you know, it's great, and that really worked really well, I think, in that. Yeah, I'm really loving this series. I mean, it definitely, I definitely feel like it has that kind of, even though it's made for probably a certain demographic, I think it has that all-encompassing story that anybody of any age, ethnicity can relate to, you know. At the same time, it also gives a perspective and gives a spotlight to a lot of different you know, areas of people's lives that we don't normally get to see on the big screen, you know, where it's just not about specific religions and that kind of stuff, or families for that matter. And I think they do a great job of like making these people relatable and interesting, and you end up learning stuff about history. Like, I never really knew about the whole partition thing. You know, I'm not a really big geography or history person, so I learned something from that. So yeah, I think it's doing a really I think it's doing a really great job in telling this story that has a real heart to it, and is sort of, it has that goofy element of you know, being a kid and having crushes and all that stuff that, you know, some of us, we can remember back in the old days.
Back in the day.
But at the same time, if you're still a kid at heart, you can sort of relate to a lot of the situations that this young lady goes through. Yeah, it's a really fun series that, and you know me, I love it when you can tell a story and you can add these little visual elements that make it really interesting and sort of bring to life your mentality. And we have that, and sort of this very Scott Pilgrimish ways that we show texting. They're still doing that, where it shows up on the bed next to her and stuff. It's just, it kills me because I wish I'd thought of that, you know. And also just like, even when like social media, there's a part where the kids hanging out and you see all the different social media posts and the hearts and, and stuff, you know. Yeah, it's a really fun series that I think, you know, I hope it gets a lot of love from people watching it, because I think it's telling a different story that we normally get. And it's not your traditional way of telling these stories, but it should be more. We should see more stuff like this, because I'm intrigued and interested and entertained. I'm always looking forward to see what happens next. And I think, you know, whoever cast this show needs to get all the money in the world, because they did such a great job of casting these roles of these people that are embodying these parts and just making you sort of fall in love with their characters, you know? Yeah, this gets a 4.5 out of 5 for me as well. There's definitely a lot of different scenes that I could pick either on the visual representation or character representation. I'll say this. This is my way. I'm going to cheat too, Slapman. You're not could be the only person that does this. Visual representation. I like when we get to see all the different cliques in their Muslim community. I love that, to where it could be just like a Clueless cliques. You know, it could be different cliques of different areas, but to see within their realm that a lot of people are really no different than that I am as a cis white man, you know, who's Southern Baptist, that there's still those type of cliques, but just in different areas. You know, there's those people that are heavy religious. There's those people that like are all about social media. There's those old people that just, talk about people behind their backs,
Gothers.
But I'll say my favorite scene is probably the scene where Kamala and her man crush are in the restaurant.
Yes, very good.
And they this is the first time they actually get to sit down together, and she's embarrassed, but he goes right into that, and it's a very sweet and beautiful moment in this series. And I think we see a lot of that in this series, to where I think whenever you have family stories, they always have like a person who's like an a-hole. And there's all these areas that are just more mean-spirited, and there's not a lot of mean-spiritedness in the stories these characters are playing out. And I don't know, I'm just loving it. It's just a fun show overall.
Just a fun show. I think that's a great way to put it. I am over the moon on this. I can't believe how much I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to it. I've said a whole lot, and I'm just gonna leave it there. But it's winning for me. I'm giving this one a 4.75. I'm holding off that 5 for something that's like maybe has a little bit more of a gut punch, a little bit more emotion to it, and I think that's coming. But it's to me, it's nearly perfect. I'm enjoying it. My favorite scene is the dance scene when she comes in. I think, Slapman, that's part of yours. But the whole thing where she comes in and turns into a Bollywood musical and just so happy and it's just lively and energetic. And then my second favorite scene was at the diner. So now I got to pick a third scene. And I'm going to go. And there's a lot to choose from. But I'm going to go with the aunties scene when she's asking about her grandmother and all these different, sometimes mean things they're saying, but they're saying in this tone that is just like this gossipy, lighthearted tone that kind of takes the sting out of it, but yet it's kind of like what? Like there was, I forget what one of them said about that. Yeah, something about she was cursed and stuff like that. There was all kinds of these really mean things.
I think she killed a man.
Yeah, I think she killed a man. But it was just the whole tone of it, and I think, and that's what drew me into that scene, and many others like it. Is it has these tones throughout it that just ring true and authentic and lively and fun and entertaining, and I'm really appreciating that. So, and like you said, we're talking more about these crazy scenes instead of the superhero scenes. Her rescue is something that I could have picked, or the escape from the whatever they are, the agents, Agent Deaver and Cleary from
Agent Smith.
Yeah, well, Agent Cleary is from Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Yeah, so she has to leap over him. But anyway, there's a lot. Yeah, shut up.
She finally does a superhero landing.
Oh, she does. It is great.
And she basks in it, and she looks so proud of herself.
But she pays for it. She pays for it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a fun series, and I've also heard that the powers that she's using right now are still in the early stages, so a lot of the look of her powers are going to change as it goes along,
and her costume too. So
yeah, that too. Hope.
Yep.
I'm excited for her to get the traditional Miss Marvel costume. I love that costume.
It should. I wonder if they'll wait till episode 6. I have a feeling.
Well, she's got elements of it more and more because she's got a little bit of the underlying part of it underneath that jacket. So
okay. Well, we'll 4 more episodes to go, guys. All right, we'll see you next week for the next episode. This was fantastic. Thank you for joining me, Christopher Slapman. This was great.
It was just like Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, I feel like every week it's a time for us to smile and enjoy and get away from all the horrible things that happen in our lives, and have this moment of like happy cool stuff. Well, I didn't mean to bring it down. All
right. With that note, leave your comments down below. Let's say good night, guys.
Good night.